And my name is Barry Martin Snyder, and our website is luminousself.com. I am here, avatar of synthesis. This is what I heard in meditation a couple of days ago when I felt this very powerful presence coming to me, attempting to make contact with me, which it did. This happened after I became aware that something was unfolding with the avatar of synthesis, which I had a vague memory of from having read the Alice Bailey teachings many years ago. I became aware that something was going on through a newsletter called the Sathya newsletter, which I'll place below in the description, a link to this particular newsletter. It's a wonderful newsletter that I would recommend because it's printed monthly on the new moon, on the full moon. And the author, Curtis, is one of the most multifaceted people I connect with. He is very deep spiritually, very awake. He uses astrology as a vehicle to understand the unfoldment of current events, which is what the newsletter is founded in. But he also has a very extensive background in the business world. And so he understands what's going on socially, politically, economically, and environmentally. Basically, a good synthetic understanding of the whole planet and its evolutionary process. So in this newsletter, he brought out the fact that the avatar of synthesis is due to the teachings of Alice Bailey, to show up around 2025. And the minute I read that, it was one of those moments, we all get them, where you go, this is important. Something huge is going on here. So again, it took me back to the teachings of Alice Bailey, who was one of the first people to really bring through some of the early New Age teachings. And you can see here, she was born in the late 1800s, and she almost made it to 1950, my birthday, but died in 1949. And she was really an icon and a woman who brought forth incredible teachings. You can look at some of the different things books she brought forth down below here. But they were seminal in bringing forth the understanding that there is a new time coming, a new age coming, and that in that new age there would be a whole new species being born on a whole new planet, and that it involved connection with divine beings on other levels, a number of ascended beings of what she called the hierarchy. And I like to call it more the holarchy because it's not one of domination. It's not a male domination organization. It's groups of beings operating at different levels of continuity in a structure that literally guides and unfolds the evolution of this planet. It's important to understand that Bailey was a very devout Christian. And at first she had a really hard time. She lived in California, and she had a really hard time when she started to get in touch with some of these theosophical teachings. And they were esoteric, and they really brought forth the idea that we are the ones who are going to be birthing this new age through our own realization. And that re-encounter to her Christianity. But as she opened up to it and knew the intuitive rightness of it, she became more deeply involved in it and was contacted by a being who called himself simply DK, the Tibetan. And DK gave her all this information that became her teachings. And later in life, that being was revealed to be Ascended Master Dwaj Kul. She also had connections with the being Ascended Master known as Katumi, who was St. Francis in his next to last lifetime, and also St. Germain, who gave her some important invocations, one of which, the great invocation, which I will share with you later, because it's really very powerful, and it's one that we all can share, and the hierarchy gave to us as an invocation of bringing forth this new enlightened age of a Christed planet. I think what's really important for me is that this fits into what we've been sharing for some time. Now, the idea of we are in a time spiral. We are moving between the dimensions. We have left really third dimensional reality some time ago. And we were spiraling into what Peter Russell called a white hole in time. A potential, it's a singularity between the dimensional worlds. And we're accelerating down into that. As you can see in the description, the amount of time it takes for us to travel any given distance in towards this shift is halving continuously. So that's why everything is speeding up. And it will continue to speed up until we reach singularity. The coming of the avatar of synthesis. I feel intuitively and deeply that this is another Rubicon that we have passed, and I'll explain why. Things have shifted powerfully and dramatically, that the avatar of synthesis has made its presence known on the earth. In my research, I looked at a lot of things, but I found one particular piece that I felt to share with you and read parts of it and discuss it because it resonates with me as truth and what I know to be synthetic with other realizations that I've had from other sources. One of the key things that was to occur prior to the reappearance of the Christ was that the avatar of synthesis would come and overlight the process. And that this was an incredibly important event for which humanity was awaiting. And that when the avatar of synthesis came, the process would begin in earnest to prepare humanity for the return and reappearance of the Christ. So the avatar of synthesis appears before what is biblically known as the tribulation, before what is known as the coming of the Kalki avatar, which is the Christ of the East, or the Maitreya Buddha. And the avatar of synthesis was to bring forth the divine will of the source for the birthing of a new planet, a new soul-awakened planet, and a new Christed species. It is the fiat of God the Source that this happened. There is absolutely nothing that can stop it. That's important to remember. No matter what we see out there in the world, nothing can prevent this new heaven and new earth to be born. Yes, there are great forces of darkness working to stop it, but they will fail. What we don't know is what the journey will be like between here and there. And that all comes down to human free will. But I'd like to simply read this one piece that I think is so powerful. From the gates of gold down to the pit of earth, out from the flaming fire, down to the circle of gloom, rideth the secret avatar, bearing the sword that pierceth. Naught can attest his approach, naught can arrest his approach, and none may him say, to darkness of our sphere he rideth alone, and on his approach is seen the uttermost disaster and the chaos of that which seeketh to withstand. So Bailey described, and through this author Dorje Jinpa, who I don't know who that is honestly, that we are coming to this time that was prophesied by the end, all the great ones in each tradition, the end of Kali Yuga, where there will be a destruction as the planet is cleaned of the old, purified of the old age, and a new age can be born. In Christianity, it's the second coming of Christ, where Satan would come as the Antichrist and have its time on earth to spend its fury in preparation for the return of the Christ. And that would be the time where a great purification would occur. And we are now coming into that time. One of the great Christian seers that's approved by the Vatican, and that does have some weight to me. I read in one of her most recent channelings some time ago, it was a month or two ago, that so the Antichrist has been released on the planet. And I think we're seeing that occurring. And it's not to be afraid, it's the opposite. It's to know it is our time. And that the avatar of synthesis has descended to ensure that the will of God prevail. And what that means is very important to us. The will of God is the first ray of creation. And that ray is of will and power. Nothing that is counter to the will and power of God can prosper. It cannot continue to exist. And the will and power of God, that this new heaven and new earth will be born. So rest assured that what we see happen is the removal of everything that is an impediment to that. Aurobindo, Sri Aurobindo and the Mother talked about the descent of a force, the supramental, that would remove all the obstacles. And they also Aurobindo talked about the supramental catastrophe. And so it's really how we look at this. From the standpoint of the human identified soul, it's a catastrophe. Because everything that the human caterpillar, quote, caterpillar identified soul has known is going to dissolve away, so that the multidimensional human butterfly, awakened soul, can emerge. So that's what we're going to see and what we're experiencing. Divine will says it all must go. But what divine will says is that which is aligned with divine will prosper. There will be nothing to stop it. And that's really what's important for us to understand. It's why it's so important to turn within and get connected with the God in us, to get in touch with the knowing of what divine will is for us each and every moment. When we're aligned with that, nothing that we bring forth can not but prosper and bring forth the divine plan. This whole time now is devoted to that. We will see our human attachment and identification shredded. It has to go, my friends. And go it will mercifully if we face it, embrace it, and release it as it goes, it'll be difficult to let go of some of the clinging and attachment. Just as Karen and I experienced 2.5 years ago, when a fire completely razed our home and left us with virtually nothing but the underpants that we ran out of the fire that night with. Whatever is needed to be removed will be removed. And that night Christ told me, when I asked why did this happen? Christ said, so you would be closer to me. So rest assured that whatever happens in the future is that process. We can surrender it, go through whatever we have to go through, for it is the purification necessary to bring us into deeper and deeper communion with whom, what we really are, and to fulfill our full purpose and destiny. Now realize that on the stage of humanity, there is going to be incredible demonstrations of the asuras of darkness, the agents of the Antichrist, are going to try to split and divide humanity so that some portion who is not connected with God and the divine in them will be overcome, will be led astray. And this is really the process of the great purification, or the separation that was bound to come. Now, the avatar of synthesis is really an overlighting presence that overlights three beings, three presences that are actually the ones who will be catalyzing at a level of working with us as those who are the world servers, as Bailey called them, who will be the ones who will manifest this. The avatar synthesis is working through the Christ as a universal level, as the Kalki, as the Maitreya, through the presence we knew as Jesus Christ, as one universal Christ presence, as what is called the Manu. The Manu is a being who holds a position in the planetary holarchy of being the one who's responsible for the series of root races or evolutionary advancements of the human soul that come in from time to time. And we're now in the process where a new root race is coming in. And that new root race began to come in the late 80s with, if you remember, the advent of the indigo children, and then around 2000 with the crystalline children. And this is a whole new race of beings who are embodying in a new form that's of another level. And I've been told numerous times that that's why so many of these young souls don't function well in this world. They're not supposed to. They are not resonant with this. That's why so many of them have ADHD and all these different issues, why they cannot connect, why they're not trying to find a place in this world they're not supposed to. We must understand that. And the third aspect that the avatar synthesis works with is all the planetary servers. All of us who have come to bring forth the light, to realize the Christ in us, to become the ones through which the new age is going to be born. Many of us, most of us, are transitional beings in terms of our physical incarnation. Most of us will not be here when humanity passes through singularity and goes out the other side. There will be many events that will cause that purification to remove some of us, most of us, from embodiment. That's fine. Our job will have passed at that time. So what is happening, as this article says, and Bailey said, it's to transfer egoic groups from one scheme to another, from one world to another. So it's a time when those who are here to birth this new age are going to be radically empowered. And that's the message I want to get across to you. You are going to be feeling a new impulse coming from the core of your being if you are aligned with this, which if you wouldn't be listening to this if you weren't. It's going to be a force of will and power in you to bring you into your soul purpose and destiny. And that will and power will also be what brings to the surface everything of your ego personality, still in the illusion of separation that's preventing that from happening. So we're entering into a planetary chrysalis, a personal and planetary chrysalis, where this new divine beingness is being birthed. And so each of us is going to be going through a rapid dissolution of our old attachment identification as a third-dimensional human being to being a fifth-dimensional divine soul here to bring forth heaven on earth. The reason this is so important is that what has been must be released. It must be allowed to be let go. It's going to be falling away. The old world that we knew is going to disappear. And we must live in faith and trust that with each step, we will be shown the next step in birthing that new world. And there won't be a grand plan that we'll see in front of us. It will be moment to moment, day by day. The light will tell us what the next step is. We will be prompted from within. Now, this is really the important thing, which I know to be true. And at the end, we're going to call forth the avatar synthesis so that if those of you who are ready to have contact with it will do so. What the Bailey teaching said, that sometime before the year 2025, and I believe this is the year, that there would be a Rubicon crossed. And what Bailey said was, if the destruction of mankind is to be averted, the following three things would have to have happened by 2025. 1, recognition of the Christ Spirit within. That humanity would have to realize the Christ Spirit, the divinity in the core of their soul. Number 1. Number 2, that humanity would have to recognize a planetary hierarchy. The beings that surround this planet, the ascended ones, the Elohim, the beings who are here, who have overlit this planet from the beginning to bring forth this new species. And number 3, the recognition of the divine plan. That there is a plan for a new heaven, a new earth heaven, for a new species living on Homo luminous. And that humanity would have to acknowledge that. Now, I think it's apparent to all of you that only a portion of humanity has realized these three things. You are one of those. And so, it comes to pass that those who have not are not part of the divine plan moving ahead. And this is something that we must come to grips with. As Yeshua said, let the dead bury the dead. For those who have aligned with these three things, recognition of the Christ Spirit within, recognition of a hierarchy of divine beings who work with us, who work through us. And 3, that there is a divine plan. Those of us who have recognized that are the New World servers that Bailey talked about, are the children of light, the first fruits of the revelation in the Bible. We are here to do this. It is our job. But the prophecy says that if this does not happen, then a great destruction must come about. If humanity fails to unite under the banner of the forces of light against the forces of material aggression and selfishness, then the fiery ordeal might be unavoidable. My knowing is that some degree of a fiery ordeal awaits us, is going to unfold here. But my knowing is that not one hair will be touched upon the head of those who are under the auspices of this divine plan, who are under the wing of the universal Christ. We need fear nothing. Whatever happens, whatever we experience, will be part of that plan. It's in our best interest. This I know. I have experienced this again and again, and so have many of you. Even when things happen like your whole home burning to the ground, it's the divine plan. It doesn't mean you go through a lot. We will go through a lot. We will shed many layers of attachment identification. This is the process. So I'll just briefly talk about the return of the Christ that Bailey talked about, the reappearance of the Christ. In the Bailey teachings, and the ones I believe are true, the reappearance of the Christ is not something that happens as a physical level. I know that goes counter to Christianity. My sense about it, and Christ the being Jesus may come back and walk in the flesh. I don't know. I really don't. Yeshua has never told me that one way or another. What I do know, that the reappearance or the return of the Christ is through us. It's through each and every one of us. And we are overlit by the universal Christ, each one of us, in the way that is appropriate for us. For some, like myself, it's primarily through the being Christ Jesus. And that has been the way the Christ has connected with me. For others in the East, it will be through the Kalki avatar, the last incarnation of Vishnu. And for those under the Buddhist tradition, it will be as the Maitreya Buddha. But it's the Imam Mehdi. In the Islamic tradition, the Shoyashant, in the Zoroastrian tradition, the Quetzalcoatl in the Mesoamerican. Whatever it is, we will be connecting with that in our own way. It's prophesied through all these traditions that at the end of the Dark Age, this would happen. I'll read this. Why is the avatar needed at this time? And this is important to remember. The separateness of humanity and its selfishness had reached such vast proportions, and its effects were so completely dominated by the forces of evil that in response to the massed inchoate demand of humanity, the hierarchy called forth a spiritual interposition. The endless selfish propaganda in speech or in writing, most of it materialistic, nationalistic, and basically untrue and wrongly motivated, became such a clamor that it reached to spheres, usually impervious to the sounds of earth. The avatar of synthesis was called to aid. An ancient Hindu prophecy from the Vishnu Purana states that before the formless one will appear, wealth will be decreasing day by day until nearly the whole world will be deprived. And do we not see that on a soul level? Even while there is greater and greater spiritual, material abundance, the real wealth of the planet is being destroyed. The biosphere is in rapid decline. The atmosphere is full of noxious gases and fumes. The goodness that so pervaded the planet is decreasing with every day. Prosperity alone will confer rank at this time. Isn't that what we've come to? That how much you own is a symbol of your worth, and that we worship the super wealthy we have, and humanity is want to become abundantly prosperous on a material level. Falsehood will be the only successful means of litigation. Is that not what happens now? Is litigation really about what is truthful, what is right, or is who is most powerful and has the most ability to manipulate judges, courts, etc.? We see this everywhere. Women will be merely objects of sensual gratification. Pornography is the number one thing on the internet. The earth will be venerated only for its mineral resources. What can we say? Has this not so much have been where we've come to now? Is there not all over the planet now a jockeying of all the great nations to get in a position to govern and control material resources? The wars in the Middle East are about oil. The desire for the U.S. to take over Greenland is for the resources there. The rare earth elements in China, etc. It's all jockeying for resources to hold on to a dying way of being, a material level existence. When is the silent avatar coming? According to the Hindu and Buddhist scriptures, the Kalki avatar will come at the end of the Kali Yuga, the present age of darkness. But no one knows. No one knows. No one knows when the universal Christ will reappear. But the avatar of synthesis is here. I believe that strongly. And we will see the action of that as the divine will comes forth as never before. Now, Bailey said, what can we do to prepare for this event? I'll read them. It's number one, the effort to stand with all other disciples and aspirants in an attempt to call forth the avatar, to reach him by focused, intensive thought and evoke his response. This is the purpose of the new invocation, which I will read at the end and we will contemplate it. 2, provide a nucleus or group through which the avatar of synthesis can work with a lesser avatar who has come forth upon the physical plane. We are to be the embodiments of the lesser avatar of the Christ. And we are here to work with the universal Christ and with the avatar of synthesis, this overlighting divine will to bring forth the new earth heaven. Constructing a network of light and service in every land is to network with all those who are on this path together, virtually and physically, as presented to us. Develop these networks of light through the internet, in our local community, with all who serve the purpose of the One, the return of light and love and light of the One to this earth. And to prepare the general public for the coming. That's whatever we can do for those who are ready to hear, to listen to the truth of the larger thing that's going on to this planet. We will each be given our ways to do this, our ways to reach out day to day. It may only be a smile an expression of love at a cash register. It may be those we touch in various ways, but that is our job. I'd like to read these last two things because they're so powerful. When the Avatar has made his appearance, then will the sons of men, who are now the sons of God, withdraw their faces from the shining light and radiate that light upon the sons of men who know not yet they are the sons of God. Then shall the coming one, the lesser Avatar, appear. His footsteps hasten through the valley of the shadow by the one of awful power, the Avatar of synthesis, who stands upon the mountaintop, the highest point of the mental plane, breathing out love eternal, light supernal, and peaceful silent will. Then will the sons of men respond. Then will a newer light shine forth into the dismal weary veil of earth. Then will the new life course through the veins of men, and then will their vision encompass all the ways of what may be. So peace will come again on earth, but a peace unlike unknown before. Then will the will to good flower forth as knowing, as understanding, and blossom as goodwill in men. This is what awaits us, and we are here to bring this forth. We are the reappearance of the Christ, as we realize that in ourselves. That will bring forth the second coming, and only that. The Avatar synthesis is behind us, empowering us, bringing its will. It is ours. It is ours to bring forth. Up from the pit of Maya, back to the portals of gold, forth from the gloom and darkness, back to the splendor of day, rideth a manifested one, the Avatar, bearing the shattered cross. Naught can attest his return, none can impede his path, for he passeth along the upper way, bearing his people with him. Cometh the dissolution of pain, cometh the end of strife, cometh the merging of the spheres and blending of the hierarchies. All then is reabsorbed within the orb, the circle of manifestation. The forms that exist in Maya and the flame that devoureth all are generated by the one who rideth the heavens and cometh into the timeless eons. May you come into the communion with your connection with the universal Christ. That may you realize it within you. And may you come into communion with a greater fullness of the one Avatar beyond it all, who wills it. The Avatar out of the silence, the Avatar of silence, the Avatar of synthesis. May you have in right time communion with his presence. I'd like to call you to go deep within. And if it's for you to align with your divine purpose as one who serves the will of the One, to bring forth this new earth heaven, to in this time acknowledge it to yourself. And I ask with you to gather together today, to call forth the empowerment of the first ray of God's will and power, the infinite love of the Christ, universal, to bring forth our mission, our sole purpose and destiny. Call that forth now in your hearts and souls. Ask it from the depth of your being. And we call forth the Avatar in synthesis to empower this divine fiat from the will of God within us, that the light of God, the peace of God, the power of God, the will of God, the love of God, the light and life of God may come through us. You may repeat this with me, silent and aloud, or aloud. The great invocation given to Bailey by the avatars, by the ascended ones. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May the Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men. The purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out. And may it seal the door where all evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. So be it, so it shall be. Amen. Much love and many blessings to all you, my brothers and sisters, in this great work that is unfolding.